All right, everybody, welcome to the August 23rd SIG Release meeting. Super exciting, it's release day. We have a fairly light agenda today, so we'll probably end a little bit early. But I thought we could just kick things off like we normally do. If there's anybody that's new to the meeting or hasn't been here in a while and would like to introduce themselves or say hello, feel free to do that now. I see Joseph is taking note taker. Thank you so much. And just before we get started, just a quick reminder that this meeting is covered by the Kubernetes Code of Conduct. So please be mindful of the things you say and respect the others on the call. And with that, we'll turn it over. Anybody want to say hello or introduce themselves? Otherwise, we'll jump right into sub-project updates. All right. Moving right along, sub-project updates, release team. It's your big day. Want to give us any updates, any things of concern?
Not really. If I have a concern today, that will be a terrible situation. But yeah, I'm super looking forward to the release. Thank you so much for all the help and guidance I received here. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to cut the release today, and I plan on starting right after we're done here. So. You know,
yeah,
pretty soon we'll start the activities. All right, release engineering. Huerco, you have a few things.
Hey, yeah, so congratulations on the reaching release day to the all of the release team, and thank you for all the hard work you've been doing throughout the cycle. But this also means that it's the start of a new cycle, so there's lots of things to do for everybody. We'll be kicking and resuming some of the efforts that we froze just because we were nearing the 125 release date. And that kind of work involves mainly, so I dropped the things that should be starting like fairly quickly after the release is got, which is modifying the release process to better fit the salsa cap we're doing, and resuming the effort to sign the artifacts. And we also have the collaboration that we're doing with Kate's SIG Infra, Kate's Infra about mirroring the artifacts to Artifact Registry and also to AWS. And there's also the system packages. So I don't know if any of those projects want to do a quick update on plans for the next weeks. If you'd like to chime in, would be a good time.
Yeah, I'll go ahead. Yeah, so for the GZR to Artifact Registry migration, we passed an important milestone last week where we managed to get all the images available in Artifact Registry for serving. So now we're going to start working on the OCR proxy to serve images from there. There's some bugs in the image promoter, which is going to be addressed separately, but it's not dependent on serving the images from Artifact Registry. Yeah, that's like the key milestone that we passed last week. With regards to the OCR proxy project itself, kind of have a plan, like the big go to live date. We think we'll be ready to tell everybody to start using it. We already did, but I don't think we've yelled loud enough just yet.
Sounds good. Any questions for Mohammed about the move to Artifact Registry in AWS? Okay. Well, I think those are the main updates from our side. So picking up the new cycle, and happy to see you in the first weeks of 126.
I did want to chime in before we move on about the system packages. So for the POC, where we're working with the SUSE folks on trialing OBS for the Kubernetes Debian and RPM packages. We met with them last week to basically walk them through our current release process and some of the challenges that we have, as far as the build and publish signing process. And we're going to be meeting back up with them again this week, and they're going to try to help walk us through all of the OBS features and potentially help us try to solve some of the file storage issues, which would be potentially problematic on their end, because the current way that we're building the RPMs is we're taking the pre-built binaries and putting them together with the spec file, and all of that would require storage. I haven't sent out the invite yet, Lori. I will be doing that in a bit here today. But the idea is that right now, basically for every single build that we do for alpha, beta, RC, and GA releases, they would require storage on their most expensive storage tier for all of those underlying binaries, plus the spec file changes and all of that. And they have potentially some ideas to help alleviate that issue, because if we can just pull them directly from the upstream locations during build time, that would relieve them of the majority of the storage problems that we could potentially cause for them. So once we have that meeting, we've already got a Slack channel set up to collaborate further with them. We should be, after this meeting, we should be able to kick off getting an initial POC started of what it would look like to leverage OBS for those builds. And I think Arnaud was looking at the POC around using Google Cloud infrastructure to replicate the existing process, but in a more automated, repeatable fashion.
Awesome. Thanks for thanks for the update. So one thing to note, I saw in the channel that folks are asking if there are recordings of the meetings. If we are doing meetings, if we're going to be doing standing meetings, whether ad hoc or otherwise, they should be recorded. They are community meetings. And if we are opting to not record them, there needs to be some level of note taking there. So SIG Release leads can provide a link for a Zoom and host keys and all that good stuff to make sure those meetings get recorded. But because they are community meetings, they should be.
Yep. Make sure to get that done in the future. We have been taking notes in, let me get the doc where we've been taking notes, and I'll drop that as in the meeting notes. I won't take up any more time with that.
Yeah, and actually add that to the you can add that to the topic in the release POC packages POC channel.
Yep, sounds good.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. That was a great update. Anybody have questions for Jason? All right, moving along. We have one item under open discussion right now, and it's Providence Builder Demo. Huerco, you want to jump in and give us a demo?
Sure. It's just a quick one.
Cool.
Let me see if I can share my window. So for the past couple of weeks, I've been working on fixing the way we produce provenance attestations for our project. This is the diagram that we presented some weeks back. If you remember the problem, we run, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but we essentially run Grail staging and Grail release to call a new release, and we produce a provenance inside of those processes. And as we discussed like a month ago or so, this shouldn't be done this way, because we should be generating a provenance attestation that is the formal records of how we build the software from outside the build process. So this was the proposed architecture. So we generate the provenance before, which observes the Creel staging and build runs, and we generate the provenance outside of the build process. So I've been working on this new project, which is called Tejolote. Tejolote is a tool. Yesterday I realized that the name may not be the easiest to pronounce for everybody, but for context, a tejolote is when you do salsa in Mexico, you use the molcajete, which is this thing here, and the tejolote is a handpiece that you use to grind the chiles. So what tejolote does is basically observe the build as it runs. So the first thing it does is that it watches the initial state of the repository where you're going to build things, records a little bit of that, then observes the build as it runs, and then after it's done, it checks a number of artifact storage locations that you tell it to. Currently, it supports directories, OCI registries, and GCS cloud buckets, which are the things that we currently use. And if everything runs well, it will give you a provenance attestation about that run by querying information that is exposed by the build system itself. Currently, the project supports Google Cloud Build and GitHub Actions, and I'm planning to sync with Mohammed because he's been doing the same kind of observing for Prow, but for the Knative project. So there's a chance of using some of his ideas in this one. And the other thing it does is that it can generate the provenance in stages. So it can generate the provenance as we discussed in the plan, start generating the provenance, like in capturing the initial state, things like the GitHub commit of the repository and things like that, where you're going to be the one you're going to be using as build point, then observes the run, and then it can resume from its saved state to generate the attestation at the end. So I want to open a donation. Unless there are any objections to this, I want to open a donation request for this repository to move it to Kubernetes. And it still has a little bit of feature work that it needs, and it has a couple of bugs, which I'm hoping they won't explore in my face just now. Let me give you a quick demo on how it looks like. I think it's my turn now. Can you see it? Right. So the way it works is really simple. Really. It's so let me I had it in the picture here. Okay. So I'm gonna do this command here, and the way you specify things to the binary is via two kinds of URLs that specify two things. The first one, the build that you want to run. So in this case, if you see here, it's right all the way to the right. It has a GCB prefix, which means it's a Google Cloud Build run. You pass it the project, the build ID, and I'm working also so that you can specify one of the steps inside of the build. And this applies both to GCB and also to GitHub Actions. And then you pass it a series of artifact locations. In this case, I'm going to use this bucket here, which I have for testing. So this is one of our actual Kubernetes runs. And I'm not going to index all of our release buckets. So I'm going to work on this one, which just has a copy of one of our binaries. And so it's going to output everything here. And it runs, hopefully. Yeah, so at this point, it went in, read the initial, I'm not pointing it to the actual build directory of Kubernetes, but I can show you something. So the first one is this is the Provenance Attestation, which I specified in the output. And this is the storage snapshot of how the Holote saw the bucket state before it ran. So it detected that there was one binary in there, and it's saved the state. It saved the state to disk to continue. So because I want to generate an actual attestation for that, I'm gonna drop the saved state so that when I run, it actually picks up the artifact. And I'm gonna, so that's the first one. So this would be potentially the thing you would run before running Grail, one of the Grail stages. So Grail stage, for example. And the other is, the other way of running it is you run it with the attest command. So instead of running start at the station, as I did here, start at the station, you now run it and you simply tell it to go and attest the finished run. I'm going to tell you to continue by reusing the partial attestation. Oh, maybe we should look into that. So if we see the partial attestation that was written, it looks like this. It's empty mainly. It captured, since it's running in my own directory, it picked up the Git repository and the build point I'm using. But this corresponds mostly, this corresponds to the repository I'm running in. It has a working directory which you can switch to read it from there. But otherwise, the attestation is empty. It doesn't have any information in it. So if I'd run it with a test, I will tell it to reuse the previously built attestation, and then I'll tell it to do the same, to monitor the same run and the same artifacts. So hopefully it'll run. So remember, it observed the binary and it would not use it as, it would not have used it as an artifact this time around because it had already observed, but just for demo purposes, I removed the observed artifact. And so I got, so here it is. It went in and it actually finished filling up most of the attestation that we have. So here's the subject, which picked up from the bucket. Some of this information is still pending, which I need to fill out. It fills the type of field, and here are the steps from our run, and finally incorporated into the previously noted materials from the repository. And just as a second one, and let me see if this works because I did this over the weekend. I can pass it the sign subcommand, and if it runs, let me see. So what if I pass it sign? It should, yeah. It just opened my browser window for me to complete the signing flow on SIG, and there it is. It signed the attestation, and basically that's done. So this is the same attestation, only wrapped in the signing envelope. So with this, we get the attestation generated from outside with an identity we can control, which is not the same as the one that the builder is running. So it should be well, almost there. So I'm gonna open the donation request for everybody to comment on it. And if anybody is interested in this kind of work and wants to join me, well, let me know.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's super cool. Thanks for ending our meeting with an awesome demo. All right. That takes us through our agenda for today. Does anybody have any last minute additions or topics they want to add? Otherwise, we'll give some time back and we can start with the release process for today.
I'll probably just bring up in channel SIG Release about with the time changes, Jeremy. We plan to announce that, and maybe we should also get a contributor tweet, but we could throw that in channel. And then just one last thing. I just want to say super big thank you to Veronica for helping me and Jeremy sharing your magic. We really appreciate you teaching us. You are the best. Thank you.
No, you two are the best. Finally, like it was, it is a pleasure to work with all of you here, but like this specific release, my life changed thanks to you too. Really, I am not exaggerating. Like, my levels of stress completely disappeared thanks to you. So I hope that you didn't absorb that. But yeah, thank you.
All right, everybody. With that, we'll call it a day. See everybody at the release celebration later today, and hopefully see everybody on the internet for the rest of the week too. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, however much of that might be left, and just have a great day.
Later, everyone.
Thanks, folks.